Well, welcome, Facebook family, Zoom family. My name is Jeff Hayden. I'm the principal of Hayden Strategies, and we are here to talk about immunization and vaccines. We have named this "This Is Your Choice," and this is going to be a hour-long dialogue to talk about the vaccine. What's on people's minds is the COVID-19 vaccines and immunizations as a whole. Once again, I'm your host for the evening, Jeff Hayden. Some of you might know me as the former state senator of Senate District 62, and now I'm glad to be a consultant on this issue of immunization. Today, I want to introduce you to two esteemed folks, ladies, that will be working with us and give us somewhat of an overview of vaccines, and then also what is the state's plan. First, we're going to have First Lady, Ms. Teresa Russell. She serves with her husband, Pastor Russell, at Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Minneapolis since 2001. She is the Faith Community Nurse, Worship Director, Women's Retreat Coordinator, and Past Minister's Wife's Instructor. She's made a career as an intensive care nurse, having completed an advanced degree in nursing as an acute care nurse practitioner. Mrs. Russell has also been honored to conduct leadership seminars to nurse leaders at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in Eldoret, Kenya, in the continent of Africa, as well as an assessment of local health clinics in Kenya, all was part of an international leadership mission trip. Welcome, Mrs. Russell.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. You know, I like to start with a prayer. So here we go. Dear Lord, we sure thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering and this time in which we are in. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share and to improve what we need to improve on. Open our ears and our eyes and guide our tongue and what we must say in our presentation. In the name of Jesus, amen. So,
amen.
And we have PowerPoints here for you. And would like to say, if you have any questions during this time, put it in the chat. There's someone who's watching the chat room. So put your questions in the chat room and we'll be glad to try to get to as much as possible. Now, I only have a few minutes, so I better talk really fast to get this done. We're trying to hold you under an hour or so, not go over too much. So we can start the PowerPoint now. Now, the name of the town hall is actually, we're covering COVID-19. That's what we're in right now. But and we're also saying, you know, vaccinations, though, that's your choice to get vaccine or not. Thank God we live in a country that give you choices and not put things on you that you necessarily don't want. But we're here to educate you. Well, no, I shouldn't say educate. Well, hopefully so. But give more information into the vaccines and what's available to you, to all of us for our health. And, you know, when all of this started, we didn't even have, if you remember, we didn't have enough equipment even to get tested. So now, thank God we have equipment, testing is everywhere and all of that. So hopefully we can give you some information that guides you through all of that. So what is a vaccine? That's to start it off, of course. And some of this, according to the questionnaire summary, we asked this question because I want to make sure that we're on the same level. So what is a vaccine? It's a product that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease or to a specific antigen, protecting the person from that particular disease. And they're usually administered through needle injections, but can also be administered by mouth or sprayed into the nose, and that it depends on what it is. So are they safe? Well, I mean, continue with what our vaccine, I'm sorry. Vaccine is simple, supposed to be safe and effective way of protecting people against harmful diseases before they come in contact with them, before the disease come in contact with the person, is what I'm saying. The vaccine uses your body's natural defenses to build a resistance to specific infections, and it makes your immune system even stronger. So you got something there to work with. The vaccine usually helps to enhance that. So vaccines train your immune system to create antibodies. And we've been hearing about antibodies during this whole thing, just as it does when it's exposed to a disease. So the ingredients of a vaccine play a very important role to make sure the vaccine is safe and to make sure it's effective. Some of it includes the antigen. Now, the antigen, you've been hearing that too, I'm sure, on the news media. This is a killed or weakened form of a virus or a bacteria, which trains the body to recognize and fight the disease as we encounter it in the future. Then there adjuncts, and I think I spelled that wrong. This helps to boost our immune response. It means that it helps the vaccine to work a lot better. They put adjectives in there. So, and it's gone up. Of course, this is after all the testings have been done. It goes through that process. And of course, they're preservative. And it's just like if you read your label, and I hope we are reading our food labels, this is particularly kind of the same. But the preservatives ensure that a vaccine stays effective, and hence the refrigeration and all of that. And of course, the stabilizer, which protect the vaccine storage and the transportation of the vaccine from place to place. It has to go a long way, so we have to have a stabilizer in there. So that's one of the questions that was on the questionnaire. Do you believe that they are safe and the vaccines are safe? Well, a vaccine is safe, and side effects from a vaccine are usually minor and temporary, such as a sore arm or a mild fever. And whoever received the COVID vaccine will tell you that your arm is going to be sore. And the main thing to do is do some range of motion with those arms and maybe take Tylenol because you may have a mild fever. And that's coming later. More serious side effects are possible, but extremely rare, such as anaphylactic response to some of the injections or immunizations, but that need to be known to your primary care provider. Any licensed vaccine is rigorously tested across multiple phases of trials before it's approved for use, and regularly reassessed once it is introduced. Like now, I joined the CDC, where they send me texts after my vaccine. So they're still doing tests after you receive your vaccination. Scientists are also constantly monitoring information from more resources as well. So, like any medicine or any medication, vaccines can cause mild side effects such as low-grade fever. We talked about that. And redness at the injection site too. Mild reactions go away within a few days on their own, and usually they don't need anything else. But like I said, taking just regular Tylenol, or check with your primary care provider which road you should go in order to do that. But if you have major side effects, of course, somebody needs to know that. Severe or long-lasting side effects are extremely rare. Compared to the number of vaccines that we give in this nation, in the US of A, the side effects are extremely low. Vaccines are continually monitored for safety to detect rare and adverse events, if there be any. So why are they important? If you would ask, the vaccine is a safe and effective way to prevent disease and save lives now more than ever. Today, there are vaccines available to protect against at least 20 diseases, maybe more, such as diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, influenza, which is another coronavirus type, and measles. Together, these vaccines save the lives of up to 3 million people every year. But in order to have them to save your life, you got to take the vaccine. When we get, well, I shouldn't say that in order to, but in order to know that it's useful in your body, you should have the vaccine. That's what I should say. When we get vaccinated, we aren't just protecting ourselves, and this is important, but also those around us, like our friends, our parents, our wives, our families, everybody, our coworkers, not just yourself. And can I just interject this right quickly? I did not get the flu shot for many, many years. Honestly, I was in my 40s and I told an infectious disease, sit down, talk to me, convince me to get a flu shot. And I was in ICU at the time, and I just sat him down and he said, sure, yeah, that's no brainer for me. So of course, he said, okay, you see all of these rooms here? I said, yep. And they're all full, right? I said, yep, yeah, we're busy. And this is during the flu season. I said, yep, we're very busy. We usually get busy around the flu season. And he said, well, and you're feeling okay? I said, yep, I hadn't had the flu. I'm fine. I may have a cold, but I'm fine. He said, but see all these people and you come to work, you're feeling fine, but you could be a carrier of influenza. And when you come in here with these people whose immune response is jeopardized, and you come in feeling good, but you're a carrier of the influenza virus, you can kill almost everybody in this unit. I say, murder, that's what got me. I don't want to kill nobody. So those around me, I want to protect those around me, even though I feel good. I want, if I'm going to be close to them, and my deal is to protect you and do the best I can for you. And I'm jeopardizing myself like that in order to whatever, I don't know, but that changed my life. So I've been getting a flu shot ever since. So some people, like those who are seriously ill, are advised not to get certain types of vaccine. And of course, they need to check with their primary care doctor to see which vaccines they are to get and not to get. So it depends on the rest of us to get vaccinated and help reduce the spread of the disease, whatever it is. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccination continues to be critically important. This is why we're here at this hour. So how does it work? Vaccines reduce risk of getting a disease by working with your own body's natural defenses to help build protection. Like I said earlier, when you get a vaccine, your immune system responds to it. Depends on what the vaccine is. Okay, next. The immune system responds by recognizing the invading germ or whatever it is, such as virus or bacteria. It produces antibodies, which are proteins produced naturally by the immune system to fight the disease. And it recognizes and remembers the disease and how to box against, how to fight it. So if you are then exposed to whatever that disease is or the germ in the future, your immune system is able to quickly recognize it and destroy it before you become sick. So why should you get vaccinated? Although some diseases may have become uncommon, the germs that cause them continue to circulate in some or all parts of the world. In today's world, infectious diseases can easily cross borders because we are traveling so everywhere across international waters and all of that. So anybody, it can cross borders that way, so to speak. So two key reasons to get vaccinated are to protect ourselves and to protect those around us. If we get nothing out of that, protect ourselves and protect those around us. Because not everyone can be vaccinated, including very young babies, those who are seriously ill or have certain allergies. They depend on others being vaccinated to ensure they are also safe from vaccine preventable diseases. And this is the end of mine. I use the information from the cdc.gov website, and you can go there. Whatever questions you have, you can go to the cdc.gov website, or you can go to the Minnesota Department of Health website, and there's a search engine at the very top. You can, whatever question you have, put it up there at the top, and it brings a lot of information. So instead of going to like CNN or Fox News and all of that, make sure you go to a reputable website, such as Minnesota Department of Health, CDC, or that type. Also, I use World Health Organization information. Thank you. We'll have the questions. If you have questions, please put it in the chat.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Russell, for a very thorough presentation. As you can see, she knows what she's talking about. Next up, I want to introduce you guys to Miss Elizabeth Eboat. Elizabeth Eboat is the vaccine outreach coordinator in the Vaccine Equity Engagement Division, where she directs and oversees the planning, implementation, and coordination of critical COVID-19 vaccine information to populations that have been most affected by the pandemic. Previously, Ms. Eboat was the Deputy State Director at the office of U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar. Originally from Cameroon, she earned her MA in Public Affairs from the Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin, and her BA in Communications and History from the Northwestern University. Welcome, Ms. Eboat.
Thank you so much. And quickly, do you mind making me a co-host of the event tonight? I'm not able to share my screen. I have a pop-up box that says I'm not able to.
I think we can.
All right, you good to go?
Excellent. Just one moment. Well, good evening, everyone, and I apologize in advance. You might hear my 5-month-old puppy chirping in the background, so bear with me. So as was mentioned, I'm the Vaccine Outreach Director at MDH's Vaccine Equity and Engagement Division, where we're really tasked with ensuring that what we're calling focus communities, so us, persons of color, Indigenous persons, people with disabilities, LGBTQIA persons, that we not only have the most updated information about the vaccine's efficacy and availability, but ultimately we're prioritized when it comes to receiving the vaccine, just considering the disproportionate effects this pandemic has had on our health. So I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about where we are right now in vaccinating the public. I'm going to talk about who's eligible and who's deciding who's eligible. I'll talk about how vaccines are being distributed, where you can go to get one, how we're recommending prioritizing equity in our vaccine distribution strategy. I'll talk about some community-based partnerships that Greater Friendship certainly knows a lot about through the Stair Step Foundation that we're using to help provide additional information and encourage trust and ultimately make sure that persons of color, all these focus communities that I talked about, are getting vaccines. And then I'll take questions at the end along with the First Lady. But first though, I want to just make sure you're aware of some good points of reference for you. So of course, the Minnesota Department of Health vaccine homepage, that's where you can go for all the most up-to-date information about what's going on with the vaccine. We also have our vaccine distribution data page, and this is a nice breakdown by county, by amount of doses distributed, by our daily and weekly vaccine goals, where you can get a good picture on that too. And then lastly, one that not many people know about but it's very helpful, is our Cultural Faith and Disabilities email listserv. And this listserv not only offers the most up-to-date information about the vaccine, like those other pages, but it also offers additional resources. So when it comes to housing needs, when it comes to career services, when it comes to really connecting you to anything you might need, this listserv is a really good source. So I encourage you to sign up if you haven't already, and I'll share the list. I'll share the list so that it's sent around afterwards too, or the link, excuse me. So first, I think we're all aware that there isn't enough vaccine available right now to get to everyone at the same time. So what the Department of Health and the governor has come up with is a vaccine advisory group that's really been tasked with making all the difficult decisions about who gets the vaccine when. And this group has different people representing different industries, different populations, different healthcare providers, who then offer recommendations and ultimately guide who is prioritized in what phase. And the consideration, well, I should say, we know that all of those considerations need to include populations like ours that have been disproportionately gotten sick, been the most sick, had disproportionate number of deaths as it relates to COVID-19. So what the things that they're considering are who's most likely to be exposed to COVID-19, who's most likely to get the most sick. Those are sort of top of mind as these decisions are being made. And really, when it comes to vaccinating Black people, I don't think there's any argument that there's room for improvement in our strategy. And that's something that I'll walk through in the next slides, which are the recommendations we provided to make sure that not only are we, yes, providing information and education, but we also are providing equitable pathways to the vaccine for people who say, yes, this is for me. We don't want our community to be left behind. But to first walk through who can get vaccinated right now, that group includes people in phase 1A. So I kind of think about a racetrack, and we have 3 different lanes going around the racetrack, but we're all going in the same direction, but we just are taking different pathways there. So the first group of people are phase 1A. These are healthcare workers and residents and staff of long-term care facilities. Next lane over, we have people 65 years and older and child care workers and pre-K through 12 educators. We think about our next phase that's going to be upcoming, that's going to be phase 1B. And what we know about phase 1B so far is that we'll certainly be prioritizing more people with high-risk medical conditions and other essential workers. I'll say that an announcement on phase B will be coming very soon, so we'll certainly have more clarity on who is part of that group. But we know that the things that did or did not work in phase 1A, we certainly don't want to continue that in phase 1B. And so that's where our mindset is right now, in making sure that persons of color, people with disabilities, LGBTQ, Indigenous persons, all of them continue to be top of mind as we move into phase 1B. Now, thinking about the different ways to access the vaccine right now, one thing I'll walk through three different pathways, and one that just launched this past week. So the first one is the Minnesota Vaccine Connector. And this vaccine connector is open to everyone, regardless of any condition, whether in the current phase right now, can go onto the vaccine connector and enroll in this voluntary program. And what the vaccine connector will do is when it's your turn to get vaccinated, when your phase is up, you will be notified to say, it's your turn. This is where you can go right now to access the vaccine and how to register for an appointment. If you're currently eligible for a vaccine right now, let's say you're someone 65 years old and you fall into the category of our phase of 65 plus, you will get a response back from the vaccine connector saying you're eligible. This is where you can go right now to get a vaccine, and this is how you can get an appointment. So it'll set you on a pathway to a vaccine now, and it'll also enter you into the randomized pool that is being used to capture appointments for Minneapolis, Rochester, and Duluth locations for community-based vaccines. The next tool is called the Find My Vaccine map. And this map is a visual map on the website that allows you to, based off your location, identify the nearest vaccine opportunities near your home. So whether that's a pharmacy, whether that's a healthcare provider, whether that's any sort of community site, you can go onto the map and identify a location near you. Lastly is the Federal Retail Pharmacy Program, and this is a partnership between the CDC, states, and pharmacies that allows people to go to pharmacies that are participating to get a vaccine. Participating pharmacies in Minnesota are Walmart, Thrifty White, and Hy-Vee as of just this week with Hy-Vee. So you're able to call your Walmart pharmacy, Thrifty White pharmacy, Hy-Vee pharmacy, and work through them to set up an appointment. So if we think about all the different places, like I just mentioned, that everyone can go to get vaccinated, so certainly, or different pathways to the vaccine. So local public health, so Hennepin County Public Health or Ramsey County Public Health, they're offering doses and setting up appointments. We have healthcare providers like Fairview or North Point, for example, offering as healthcare providers offering vaccines. We have federally qualified health centers, and these are facilities that are serving a high number of uninsured patients, a lot of persons of color, other maybe low-income patients, and so they're offering vaccines to targeted populations in their patient lists. We have community pharmacies, like I've mentioned. Tribal nations are offering vaccines as well, and community-based vaccination sites. Like I said, I know Greater Friendship knows well. I know that you're working through Stairstep and Fairview to serve that as a vaccine site. So we're looking to set up more of those. We're also working on creating mobile units that will actually go around town to where people are, high rises, for example, and vaccinate on site. So thinking about our focused community actions plan, again, these are identifying the groups that we have said we know we need to prioritize in vaccine allocation because they've shouldered a disproportionate burden of the pandemic. And so we're working closely with tribal nations, for example, and other high-risk populations to create unique allocation plans and persons of color and community-based organizations to make sure that none of these groups, we're doing our best to make sure they're not left behind in the actual vaccination process. So our strategy is really guided by embedding equity into every step of our vaccine allocation plan. And our recommendation to do that was first beginning by acknowledging historical trauma, stigma that is rightfully felt among many of our communities to public health activities like vaccinations. We've included diverse representation as best we can in the vaccine leadership team, and they're the ones who are directly then providing some recommendations. And I will also say that's an area that we are continuing to improve on to make sure that there's even more representation in the decision making. We're coordinating with local public health to support their distribution process so that that also prioritizes our BIPOC, persons with disabilities, LGBTQ+. We've also implemented vaccine metrics for our focus communities that will allow us to use data to confirm that key populations are actually getting vaccinated at an equitable rate. So not just saying it or thinking it, but then making sure that the data is backing that up. We're also partnering with community-based organizations and diverse media outlets that represent the populations that we're most concerned about and that have been hardest hit by the pandemic, to both provide messaging that's very culturally relevant and meet the need of the population. We've launched a Train the Trainer series that is meant to educate vaccine administrators and public health staff on equity and historical trauma and cultural humility when they're actually working at these community sites and are serving the public. And we're making sure that the vaccines are available at no cost. We don't require any insurance. We're not requesting any information about a person's legal status. We're also working with public health and community-based organizations, like I said, to identify community-based testing and vaccine sites. So people are coming and getting a vaccine, going and getting testing where they feel most comfortable, and they just feel confident that they can trust what's happening there. And finally, we're developing a process where we're tracking and implementing a process where we're tracking disaggregated data by race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, again, to make sure that everyone being included in the actual receiving of the vaccine should be reflective of their population. And so ultimately, this is all a goal to make sure that of our focus communities that I talked about, our vaccine target rate will be 70 to 80%. So a big part of our outreach and engagement strategy I want to hit on are what we call COVID community coordinators. And so we have invested a significant time and resources into partnering with community-based organizations and diverse media, again, to help ensure that we're providing the most relevant information and communicating through trusted messengers. So like I said, these COVID community coordinators, or CCCs, between last year and this year, they've received $20 million to provide culturally and population-specific resources to members of our focus communities to know and feel more confident that they're getting accurate information from persons that they trust. Again, that's just to ensure that there's equitable participation in the vaccine ultimately. These are organizations, like I mentioned, like State ACER or StairSet Foundation, Hmong American Partnership, others, Clues, Breathe Health. And the same goes for our diverse media and outlets. We've put in $3 million so far in new contracts with that same goal. We're working through trusted radio hosts that can communicate the messaging that populations need to hear. Lastly, our sort of final culmination with our community-based sites are testing and vaccine sites. We're putting more money into setting up more testing sites, but at the same time, focusing on setting up vaccine sites. So like I said, I know Greater Friendship, you know that well. You're a community-based vaccine site. We're working on putting money into additional ones that can support the ones that are existing right now, working through our existing community-based partnerships, but also trying to identify some new ones to fill in the gaps and make sure that it's a relevant spread. So ultimately, you know, this whole plan and strategy has the recommendation to make sure that we're recognizing the significant challenges that COVID-19 has had on our communities, and then actually thoughtfully executing a plan that gets the vaccine to the people that need it most. So I really welcome any feedback, any questions on that, any recommendations. And so I look forward to your questions. And I'm so sorry about this dog in the background.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. We really appreciate it. That was a great presentation. I do want to make sure that everyone knows that Friendship Community Service, which is an arm of Greater Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, is the sponsor of this, and we want to thank them and their board members and others that are on the call that have made this possible. I just wanted to make sure that I said that. I'm going to read some questions that folks have submitted. If you have a question, please put it in the chat, and that way we can make sure that we get it. The first question that I have is, do vaccines sometimes cause an overactive immune system? Is it safe to get the vaccine if you're allergic? So I don't know, Ms. Russell, if you want to take that. It's kind of a clinical question, and I would hopefully paraphrase and say, if they've been diagnosed or feel like they have an overactive immune system, does the vaccine cause some harm to them?
Okay, good question. Now, first of all, let's recognize what the immune system is, and that's what presented earlier in the presentation. Now, the immune system that the good Lord already built into us in our bodies, it gives us resistance already built in, resistant to fight infections, to fight toxins. And long as we keep a healthy immune system, like a healthy thymus, the bone marrow is good, working well, and the lymph nodes are good and all. But and then we're able to fight those things in the environment. And you have a cough or you have a sneeze. That's one way the simple way the immune system really works. Because if you don't sneeze, it's going to enter, and sometimes some particles do enter in. But those type of reactions is part of your immune system. Now, when it overreacts, is where you get your allergic reactions from. And that's when, now that's when some of these, and I think I presented that in some places, in some people rather, they can't take such things as live viruses, or can't even take the flu shot because they get sick. Now, if you have mild illnesses after, for example, the flu shot, then that's your immune system working with that foreign body that enters your body. Say, oh, okay, I recognize you're trying to help, but let me fight you just in case you're not here to help me. So they fight each other, and you have some allergic reactions like a fever, or that's when that arm hurts and it get red around there. That's a white blood cell still protecting you. But if it's severe reactions to that, then of course, you can't take it. Like swelling of the tongue, swelling, and you can't breathe and all that, please stay away from it. Now, as far as immunization for COVID-19, that's not a whole lot known, but as far as how many that the shots have been given, few known that we know of reactions have been given. So we don't know if, well, I don't know which immunity to tell you will go against COVID-19 immunization, but your primary care provider should be able to help you with that.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Our second question is to Ms. Ebo. Is there a way for visually impaired persons to make vaccine appointments?
Yes, there is. So for community vaccination sites, so those are the sites that the Department of Health, the state, are operating. Yes, and I will put a phone, I'll put a number and I'll put contact information into the chat, and that is contact information that you can use to get help for actually getting an appointment if you are visually impaired. Now, for our federally, the federal pharmacy retail program that I mentioned, we spoke with Walmart and Thrifty White when they first began the program and said, yeah, we know that there are accessibility issues and that some people are not just going to be able to go online and register for an appointment. They have a system that's set up that would require you either calling over the phone or going in person to one of their pharmacies and then getting help that way to register for an appointment. So with those, you would have to reach out directly to the pharmacies. There is a way to do that. So certainly persist if you get some pushback, but I'll also share the contact information for our Minnesota accessibility help.
Good. And then the third question, and then I do want to turn it back to Mrs. Russell. They had done a survey through the organization and the church, and I think that there's some results that may get at some of the overarching conversations that we have in our community. But I think the third question was just asking where you can get it. And I think Ms. Ebo started to tell you in her presentation where you can receive it and all of the tiers. I would suggest that people go to the Minnesota Department of Health website. It is a plethora of information that is Minnesota specific on where you can go and get the shot. If you're interested, how to sign up. They also have a plethora of information on some of the data. If you're somebody that wants to dig into the data and even some of the clinical research, it's certainly available there. The CDC website and the World Health Organization, depending how much time you want to go down that rabbit hole, there is a ton of that for you. But now I'd like to spend the rest of our time, if there's nothing pressing, and turn it back to Mrs. Russell to just give us an overview of a very thoughtful survey that they did with some of their members and stakeholders that may also answer some of the remaining questions that that I know that people were having in this issue, and then we'll close once again with the prayer, and want to thank Friendship Community Services and others for this wonderful opportunity. Mr. Russell.
Thank you very much. And I would like to first thank everyone who participated in answering these questions. We try to make them as simple but to the point as possible. And we thank you so much for answering them. And you will be receiving a post questionnaire pretty soon to see if this town hall did any good. And if you would like more sessions like this, we would try our best to put it together. It's great information. And we also thank Brother Jeff and Daria, thank everybody who is behind the scenes and making all of this work. And go ahead with the PowerPoint, and we give you some rundown of the results of your questions. There you go. Okay, and that's the content of what's covered in this session. Of course, the summary, and this was Greater Friendship. We didn't go outside of Greater Friendship unless somebody just came in and did it, but which was fine. But we did Greater Friendship, and we thought we wanted to start with Greater Friendship and then try to make it as complete and concise, mainly concise as possible. And then if it's okay, then we'll go ahead and send it out, for example, to State Baptist. So the online survey, of course, was conducted between January 20th and February 19th. And it was Greater Friendship Church in South Minneapolis. Now, and I thank you so much. We had 105 responses. Of course, Greater Friendship is primarily African-American men and women and this survey consisted of men and women of mainly African-American descent from ages 26 to 65 and older. So congregants, and what we found, for example, congregants were familiar with the vaccine and how they work, and that made my day when I read that. I went, yay, then I don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. And about 17% had never taken a vaccine, and about 10% received a negative reaction from a vaccine. And every year we ask people about flu shot, and Dr. Holtz, she pushes the flu clinic and all of that. And we still hear that people have negative reactions after flu shot. But about 29.5% that responded not confident that vaccines are taken into account the Blacks, Hispanics, and Latino people. All of them were female across all age groups who said that. Interesting. That will lead me to another study I want to do too. But Deacon Jonathan sparked my interest in doing another study. So like we said, most congregants were African-American. To this one, most of them were females. I'm sorry. Most were females, of course. And the gender, you see the breakdown of the gender, 79.8% were females, and the other 20.2% were males. And the age, you see the breakdown of the age and the racial category. Now we had 2 that were West Indies. The rest were African Americans. So of course I don't know if you remember the question, but do you know what vaccines are? And overwhelmingly 100% said yes. And that's why I went, I'm so happy. And have you been vaccinated? And I'm sorry, that should be an outlier question, because the question should have read, have you been vaccinated for any reason? And I'm not sure, I can't read everybody's mind. And of course you can't read my mind when I wrote that. So for any reason, and I'm hoping these responses covered that for any reason and not for the COVID. So have you experienced negative reactions to the vaccines in the past? We covered that. And yes was only, and you'd be surprised, only 10.5% people, which were 11 people, responded. Okay. And I thought it was interesting that we put in there, do you trust vaccines? Do you have enough information about COVID-19 pandemic? Of course, the yeses were overwhelming. There were few who says, no, I just don't have enough. And I'm hoping this town hall will be a start in giving more information. We wanted to know that, so we needed to know how far we should go next. And do you believe that even the COVID-19 pandemic exists? So, you know, we've been going through that. Certain people said it's a hoax. And I'm glad to see that 100% of the people who responded say, yes, we believe it's real. And do you believe the risk of COVID-19 are being exaggerated? And there were, of course, most people said, no, it's not exaggerated. We believe it exists and it's not exaggerated. There were 6 people who answered yes. And the trust is what I really wanted to get into also. Do you believe you are at risk of getting sick from COVID-19? And of course, and yeah, you said yes, but 20 people said, no, I think I'm okay. And is there enough information provided to you about the COVID-19 vaccine? And of course, overwhelmingly said yes, but there are some which we're concerned that says, no, I don't have enough information about COVID-19 vaccine. And I'm hoping that some of the information tonight provide some of the answers to those questions. If not, let's continue. And this one, number 9 says, vaccines for coronavirus are available and have been approved by FDA and determined to be safe by scientists. And now we have 2, which is Moderna and Pfizer. Johnson & Johnson is still going on approval, and there's another one going on approval too. So there are more supposed to be coming out. Hopefully they come out pretty soon, but we'll see. So will you consider getting the vaccine? So there were some, majority said as soon as I can. And of course, there's a few that said we'll wait and see, and only if required. There are very few numbers of 3 people who said, I just won't get it at all. And I should have said, we should have entered a question, well, why? But we didn't get that. Maybe we get that on the next survey. And number 10 goes into, do you have any worries or concerns about taking COVID-19 vaccine? And you can see that they're worried about side effects because, you know, we get side effects from vaccines sometimes. So that was a major answer to that. And concerns that the vaccine is too new, and it is new, and a lot of people are concerned about that. That's very good. And a lack of trust in the government. And the next one is lack of trust in politics, government. So those things were pretty close too. Worried about COVID-19 from the vaccine. There were 10 who said they may get COVID-19 from the vaccine. Okay, next. How confident are you that the development of a coronavirus vaccine is taking the needs of Blacks, Hispanic, and Latino people into account? Now, somewhat confident is 52 people, 49.5%. Very confident, there were 22 people, 21%, that says I'm very confident. Somewhat confident is concerning, and not confident at all is concerning. You got 29.5% people said, I'm not confident that we Blacks, Hispanic, and Latinos are not taking account when their development of a coronavirus vaccine. Now, I'll take you back. There were needs and call out to Blacks, Hispanic, and Latino people to be participants in trials. So I'd like to say to us that yes, we would like to continue this conversation, even provide trials for you if you like, or if not, or just conversation piece, I think. So half of the responses were, quote, somewhat confident that the vaccines are taking Blacks, Hispanics, or Latino into account, 29.5% not confident, and 20% of all females and 30% of all males were very confident that Blacks, Hispanics, and Latino people were taken into account. But you go back to the 29.5% that responded not confident that vaccines are taking these into account. All of them were female across all age groups. That was very interesting to me. I'd like to go into that a little deeper. So thanks to all of our sponsors, Pfizer, Pearls of Living, Friendship Community Service, Hayden Strategies, Minnesota Department of Health, who helped put this town hall together. We appreciate you. We surely thank Pastor Russell and the staff for allowing us to even send out the questionnaires to the church group, to Greater Friendship, to get this started. And hopefully we can send it out someplace else to get it started, get more information. So we'll build on these questionnaires, and so we can get more information and more education out there, so we will know, and those confidence levels will increase. And of course, you have the power. It's your decision. It's all of our decisions, whether we want to get vaccinated or not. But having the education piece is the main thing. If you don't know it, then of course, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not, or I'm not confident. But we want to make sure the information is there for you, and you would be a consumer of whatever that's put into your body. It's your body. So you have to have the decision what goes into your body. Thank you very much. Oh, there were some more. I just wanted to share a couple of minutes. Interesting comments. Number 12 was comments. The number 12 question was comments. And one of the first one was vaccines be available at Greater Friendship. So thanks to Stair Step, like was said earlier, yes, vaccines will be available at Great Friendship this coming Saturday through Stair Step. But there was a number that was given out in order for you to participate in the vaccine clinic this coming Saturday. And the last time I heard, the numbers were full. So if you have not gotten vaccine, now there were sometimes, I know when I'm just hearing at New Hope, some people didn't show up. So they had vaccines that they did not want to take back. So they started calling people to get them into, so they won't have to take those vaccines back, and they were able to fulfill those needs. And more, yeah, they'll fulfill those needs and more. So we're asking you, if you're interested and you have not signed up elsewhere to get a vaccine, is there, I'm gonna ask Brother Emery, Brother Chavez, Brother Jonathan, is there somewhere we can get them to send their phone? We need your phone numbers, because I don't know how often you're gonna check your email, because it may say come now, and it may be at the end, it's from 12 to 4. So it may be 3:45 and we say we need 10 people so we can get rid of, we had 10 no-shows, for example. So is there a way that people can give their phone numbers and we can contact them just in case that we have extra vaccines?
I believe we should be able to do that, First Lady.
What website should they go to?
Oh, I thought you were referring to Greater Friendship members. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure. I will defer to the Minnesota Department of Health Representative?
Well, in the chat, Ms. Ebolt has listed information for the visually impaired, and the helpline are there for people to call and to try to navigate the system. I'm not sure about the specific ones, Mrs. Russell. If you got a little extra there, I imagine they should maybe call the church. I don't want to flood your line there, but maybe they should do that. But just in general, Ms. Ebold has left us information in the comment section. I'll just lay out one number just for those who might call in or might not see it. The number is Minnesota Helpline 651-297-1304. And that is the number that you could call just to start to navigate that system if you don't have access or don't know where to go and get a vaccine.
And yep, and that goes to that next. If you see that bullet said vaccine locations not accessible to the African American average everyday resident, we are trying our best to push that. And this is one of the ways that will make the vaccine accessible to the average everyday. I don't know what the average everyday resident is, but we're trying to make it accessible for everybody.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, thank you so much. We are running out of time. I just wanted to make sure, and hopefully this was helpful. We hope to do a series of these informational seminars or town hall meetings. We think it is important. There is a stat out there that says, and there's a lot of stats, so that says that we are more than 4 to 5 times to get it and to die of COVID-19, but only about a third of us are getting the vaccine. And so this issue of vaccine hesitancy is real. We didn't really touch the elephant in the room, which is the hesitancy around the historic trauma that the healthcare system has put upon African American people. We all know about the Tuskegee Institute or the Tuskegee experiment and others. But what we're hoping is that we can show that this vaccine and this product is not that. It's well developed. A lot of us have gotten it. A lot of us, if we're going to kind of survive, once again, we should have the information. And our idea is to be somewhat persuasive. But more than that is to give you the information and to get trusted community faces that you have here. Myself, Mrs. Russell, I should say the Russells, as you guys know, they're our superstar family here in Minnesota, Reverend Russell and Chavez Russell, Mrs. Russell, Deisha, who was integral in this, Charmaine. I don't want to just call out the Russells, but we all know, at least I know how much I really like the work that they do. And so this is hopefully a series that we can continue. And we just want to thank you for coming. I want to shout out to Indiria Falana. Many of you know she's my former aide and she helps me at Hayden Strategies. For connecting it, Miss Elizabeth Ebolt, welcome. Welcome to the family. Thank you for coming. We are glad to see your face and that you're at the Minnesota Department of Health. And all of our other friends. So we want to say thank you. Thank you to all the folks watching on Facebook. Thank you to the folks that tuned in via Zoom. Look out for more opportunities for us to participate. We thank you so much. And we'd like to close, I think, with Mrs. Russell. Would you like to close us out in prayer and the benediction?
Yes, and thank you again, Elizabeth. I didn't want to mess up your last name, so I hope it's okay that I call you Elizabeth. So thank you so much. This is very helpful, and we'll be looking forward to work together in the future. And again, thanks to everyone who are here and who participated in the questionnaire. You will be getting more. I really like it. And I really love the responses. And thanks for the comments. You didn't have to, but you did. I appreciate it. And we're keeping it in our archives and we're referring to them in a later date. So in the name of Jesus, we come thanking you, Heavenly Father, for this moment. Thanking you for what our ears and have heard, our eyes have seen, and that it will saturate in us. And Heavenly Father, use it for our good. We thank you for everyone who participated in this event. In the name of Jesus, We asking for healing in our nation, healing in our name, in our land. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And
Thank
good
you.
night. Thank you.